Howdy folks, Nathan Adlin here, and I'm just outside of Austin, Texas, and look what we have today. It's the brand new 2015 Audi S3. It's a much faster car than the A3, and it is built for high performance. And we're just about to take it on the road and do a test just for you. This is something very interesting. Now, I know you've seen these before. This is a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that's powering all 4 wheels through the DSG 6-speed semi-automatic transmission. But this is a very different 2-liter engine because it's been augmented and lifted from pretty much its doldrums to, check this out, 292 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. That's really impressive. And the way they did that was they upgraded the turbocharger. They've upgraded almost all the internal components, pistons, you name it, everything. And they've taken this engine up to a higher level. And quite frankly, is one of the more drivable, good sounding 4-cylinder engines that I've heard in an Audi in a long time. And 92 horsepower, my friends. That's all out of a 4-cylinder engine. That is really impressive. Audi tells us that they've built up the engine, so they've removed the turbocharger, replaced it with a better one. They've taken a lot of the internal components out and replaced them with better ones, lighter. Obviously. I mean, this is a really powerful 2-liter engine. You know, when you look at a vehicle like this and you say, okay, it looks a lot like an A3, you're absolutely right, it does. Okay, they lowered it a little bit and they have these fantastic 19-inch wheels, which are optional and they're part of the magnetic ride suspension package. And that magnetic ride is basically shocks that have an electronic charge that goes through them, and that charge actually makes the rebounding harder and softer. As such, you are able to get a better performing vehicle at the flip of a switch. But in terms of the overall styling of the S3 over the regular A3, there are only minor things to tell you the difference. One of which, of course, is the mirrors. These little polished plastic metal looking components. The wheels, of course, slightly lower ride height. And then badging. In the back, you have the quad exhaust, so that's another telltale sign. But otherwise, throughout the car, it really doesn't pop saying that it is an S3. And for some of you out there, that might be an issue. A 6-speed DSG, and every year the DSG system gets better and better. Much easier to drive through traffic. Andre, my man, drove this through Austin traffic, and for those of you who have been to Austin before, you know that downtown is really horrible in the mornings. It blips the throttle as you downshift, by the way, which is really cool. Turn around, make a couple more passes at the camera. So among the other upgrades, obviously the wheel package, which is part of the suspension package, you get 19-inch wheels. That's awesome. And then you get larger brakes all around. They have a really cool Audi emblem on them. Good stuff. So over these bumps, this is one of the more well-sorted cars in its class. And I'm putting this class against, let's say, the Mercedes-Benz CLA AMG-ish, and even the Subaru WRX STI, even though the STI is a great deal cheaper. Actually, if you get a fully loaded STI, the prices come pretty close to the base price for the S3. But I mean, we're talking about two different cars, right? Because the WRX STI is like a kid's car with a big fat wing on it. This is more of a grown-up's car. And actually, their performance is surprisingly close. Horsepower output, all of that, very close. Now, granted, the STI is a lot more tossable. It's more savage. This is much more sophisticated, as well it should be. Folks, this particular model runs $46,645, which is a lot of money, but for that money you get a lot of stuff, including a pretty nice interior, upgraded seats, upgraded steering wheel, which is very nice, upgraded pedals, and raised stitching. And if you combine everything together, it actually gives you a very comfortable, rather sporty environment. One thing I wanted to point out to you once again is this incredibly sexy quad exhaust. It looks great. And you can really see it on the back, and it helps differentiate this vehicle from the regular A3. Another thing is the 10 cubic foot trunk. It's not huge, but you do get cargo underneath, which has a spare tire, which is rare. It's a donut, but hey, at least you get that. It's kind of shallow, but it is a pretty deep trunk, and it has a nifty pass-through. Good car, really well done, Audi. From your seat, here's one thing a lot of you guys can really appreciate. The steering, when you firm it up into dynamic mode, it's not twitchy, but it's very sensitive and it's heavy, and I love heavy steering. It really gives you a sense of purpose when you're going around a corner, just feeling the resistance as you're pushing through it. There is a bit of feel, or at least simulated feel, kind of comes through there. So it's as if they have a simulation of it just popping through and going, you know what, that really does feel like the road. It's impressive, it really is. And I'm going to drop it into gear, and it lets me do that almost at the red line. And then when you're accelerating, it'll actually let you go slightly past red line when you're using the paddle shifters, which is very cool. That's one of the things I normally hate about paddle shifters, is that they don't let you do that in many cars. Folks, it's really hard for me to take the S3 and actually rate it or compare it even between vehicles, and I'll tell you why. Because you have vehicles like the Mercedes-Benz CLA AMG way up here, and then you have vehicles like the Subaru WRX STI down here. And the S3 sort of sits in between the two, which might be a good thing, especially if you want a unique vehicle. And in terms of its overall performance, well, we haven't had a chance to put it on a proper track in Colorado yet, and so that's going to come up soon, and I'm looking forward to that. For the Fast Selling Car, this is Nathan Adlin saying, don't forget to go to tflcar.com for news, views, and real-world reviews. Adios. Okay, here we go, folks. We're gonna try launch control in the 2015 Audi S3. So let's say I'm gonna go to dynamic. I'm gonna hold down traction control, turn it off. Okay, ESC is off. Accelerate and brake at the same time. And wow, it works really good. So much easier than BMWs. There you go. So it's just that simple. You go to dynamic mode, driver select, and then you shut off the traction control and ESC, and then you push down on the brake, push the gas pedal all the way down. It'll bounce around 4,000 RPM, let go of the gas, and away you go. It's just that simple. By the way, you may have noticed, I don't know if you can see it from here, but I'm driving a different car than the one that we had earlier. And that's for two reasons. One, because we wanted to drive one with the really pretty interior. This has a kind of a two-tone gray on black, and it's quite nice.